the pitch that I've sort of put towards the TV channel was all about homophobia in Brighton and how bad people have been affected, and it's still quite a big issue as well. That I've got the statistics from Sussex Police, and I think there was 266 between January and September this year. So it's still a huge issue in Brighton.
Yeah. What is the? Can you give us a little bit of background, like why you're doing this? And
yeah, so I'm doing this because I've been homophobic attacked myself, and I know friends and families of people that have been attacked as well. So that's why I want to raise awareness about, Brighton's not this, flamboyant, safe city, if that makes sense. It happened to me last month. I was outside on the seafront, and I got basically nearly assaulted. And my friend who was with a girl, she basically nearly got kicked in the head by this guy who she was basically trying to protect me. So that's why I want to make this documentary about that. It's a dark city, Brighton, still, as well as gay pride. It's, everybody's like, wow, it's flamboyant, it's a great city, but there's still a lot of homophobia in Brighton, Hove.
Yeah. I mean, you're speaking exactly what we've been saying for the last 5 years. So Back Up started basically because of a friend of ours was out on a date and got attacked in Brighton, and they couldn't find any venue where they could go in and ask for help, because a venue won't take, if the crime happened somewhere else, they can't be sort of associated, or they don't want to help. But one of the biggest things, the pushbacks we got with this when we first started was Brighton's so diverse, it's so accepting, but it really isn't. I mean, there's I call them everyone's Facebook happy, but underneath that, there's a lot of homophobia, racism, a lot of that. But yeah, so are you a filmmaker?
No, I'm actually an actor, so I could tell a bit about myself. So I've been doing acting since 2015. So I've done adverts, TV, films, extra. I started off, as the only way is Essex as an extra. And then that was my first ever. It was exciting at the time. I was like, wow, I'm going to be on TV. I didn't even get paid for it, but obviously you've got to start somewhere at the bottom. And then I've worked my way up. Now I've got free agents. It's quite hard at the moment. The acting industry is not like, it's pretty much dying. It's not like it used to be. You just have to keep, just going. That's why I think this idea, I thought, you know what, there's nothing actually out there, sort of like stories, documentaries about homophobia in Brighton. That's why the tagline was the dark side of the Rainbow City. Yeah. And I was asking my friends, they're like, oh, what city's that? And I'm like, Brighton.
Yeah, I mean, London has a similar situation where, it's supposed to be one of the gay friendliest places on earth. And yet most of the community is very scared.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw that article as well the other day about that trans girl that got found in the Thames, wasn't it? That could have been a homophobic attack, couldn't it? Because I've heard from other people as well that there's this guy going around or something, killing trans people. And I interviewed these people in Revenge on a night out a few weeks ago, and they said there was this trans guy, this straight guy that I met in there, and he said he was with this trans girl and they got chased with a knife along Hove seafront.
Oh wow, that's awful.
Yeah, so it is still happening. All the people I spoke to in Brighton, that's my sort of aim, sort of in the next few weeks, to go and sort of interview people in the street, sort of in libraries, train stations, public places that if people are interested about, talking about their experience and making people aware that it's still happening in Brighton and Hove.
I mean, that's so what would you need from us? What would you like from us?
So from us, it was just basically I'd ask you a few questions and basically tell me your experience and what the app sort of promoted, if that makes sense, and also to promote your app as well a lot. Yeah, because I didn't even know about your app, and I've been on the gay scene for years, since I was 18, and I didn't have a clue about the app until I googled it. So I did notice a few questions that I was going to ask you. Is that all right to ask you them? Yeah. The first question is, have you been supported by Brighton Hove Council sort of regarding that? Nothing at all. That's not good at all, because
Yeah. So their reason was that that they have one already for women and girls called support spaces. Anyway, since then they don't do it anymore. The biggest problem with Brighton and Hove would be supporting this would be admitting there's a problem.
well, this is it. That's another reason within the stories documentary is to get in contact, because I know a few people at Brighton Hove Council. I'd obviously ask if I could talk to them and see the statistics of how many sort of homophobia and how they support people that have been sort of attacked.
Because if you talk to most people in, councillors and stuff, Brighton and Hove is very inclusive. There's no homophobia, no racism, and basically for they want to keep that image for tourists, right? So if you file like a homophobic attack, you're very likely for it to be done more as the homophobia would not even come into it.
Yeah,
It's
I get what you mean.
Yeah, so they will reframe it so that it doesn't go under homophobia or non-inclusivity. I think where the biggest issue that Brighton and Hove has is that because it represents itself to the world as this very inclusive, free-thinking, place. One of the biggest things was that they wanted to have, sort of gay spaces don't lend itself to that image, does it? Because you're now segregating the people, right? So there's been a big push. So I think it was Revenge who was gay, then went straight, and now, I mean, Revenge has so many problems with homophobia.
That's what I was about to say. Speaking to that's another reason about the show. I would talk to obviously the bouncers, and they've told me as well. There's a lot still.
So there's a lot of there's a lot of emphasis for people to go to these straight spaces. What I never understood was, if you're going to shut down spaces, why not shut down the straight spaces, not the gay places? So gay spaces are decreasing rapidly, right? Most of except maybe one or two of the gay venues in Brighton are all owned by straight people or organizations, hedge funds or whatever. And that has a big impact because they don't really care, as long as they're selling beer.
Yeah.
I mean, we just literally a month ago shut down Arcobaleno, which was a gay venue, but we funded it ourselves, but it just got too much,
That's it. I did see actually in Kemp Town another bar's closing down, or club. It was on G Scene, which is another horrible thing to the gay community. Another question was, do you feel that you've got enough advertisement sort of around your app? Because I haven't really seen much of it. No.
So basically, we funded this ourselves. We're just about to. So there was no training for what we're doing for safety in venues and bars. So we do training for these venues and businesses. And so that's going online, but we funded it all ourselves. And to be quite honest, we're pretty close to needing investment now.
Yeah, I bet.
Because we'd like to go global with it,
This is exactly why I want this TV pitch to come off, because it'll help you guys as well to promote your app as well.
Yeah, I mean, we want to make sort of BOBU the symbol of safety. If you see that sticker, you're going to be safe.
Yeah.
So we do, the sticker gives people the empowerment to ask for help. So we're taking away the victimization of somebody asking for help, right? And empowering them. And then we do another workshop training to create a safe space. And having run Arcobaleno for 3 years, we know what a safe space looks like. Even though a lot of places say they're safe spaces, they're not. And then we also do workshops on sexual safety, how to be safe sexually, mentally. So it's all emotion, physical, and mental safety. So we
Yeah.
go around the whole
That's
spectrum.
another thing I liked about your app as well, that you've got all the places at the safe spaces, and then you've got like sexual health as well. So that's really good.
Yes.
So I really enjoy. I really like that feature. What do you think local businesses can do to help promote your app more? Sort of put it out there more to help.
Support. I mean, again, so Brighton, we have so the thing is, because every venue we go to will say, oh, I'm a safe space, or I'm not an LGBT space. But this isn't about them, it's about the people asking for help. And if you're in trouble or you're not feeling comfortable, when you look around, you don't know if you're going to walk into that venue and they're going to help you, or you're just going to be met with a wall of silence.
Yeah.
So through the training and with the sticker, then people know they are actually going to be helped and supported.
Yeah. Another thing as well, which I thought would be good for your app, is sort of in revenge or legends, that like they've got Angela, if you've been spiked or something like that on the back of the doors.
We did have Nick with revenge.
Did you have that?
No, it was in
No?
the bar. The club is different.
Oh,
Oh, in our bar.
Yeah,
Oh.
because we said no to the club.
Fair enough. So yeah, that's what it was really. Sort of, what have you had sort of like feedback around the app from people that have used it?
Good feedback. Good feedback. I mean, we need more, because the more venues that sign up, I mean, and we give a lot. We give the training. We put them on the app. They have the websites on the app. They're doing something good. So with the online training, we're able to, we thought we'll just charge like a flat fee of £40, do the training, put the sticker, and give them support for a year. But I don't know how that's going to work out, because seriously, the hospitality industry is on its knees.
I know. I was about to say that. I think every industry at the moment is on its knees. Have you had sort of? I did obviously see your article that was on the BBC, news. That's good as well, because it promotes your app as well. Have you had sort of like any sort of like negative sort of feedback from people, sort of clubs saying, oh, or bars, we don't want this, or does that make sense when you've approached them?
Yeah, I think there's a few places that say that they're safe spaces, but so they don't want to be a part of this. We've had one place who said that they're the safest place in the street, and that they don't need this. So that's kind of, sometimes you get feedback on that when you're talking about. A lot of places will say that they're safe spaces, but when it comes to push comes to shove and being like, well, how are you being a safe space? They don't want to put their name down.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, it defeats the purpose, because it's not about them being a safe space. It's that people feel safe to ask them for help.
Yeah.
And it doesn't compute for them, that's what, it's not about them. The other problem with, that there is a lot going on at the moment is that bars and clubs are almost being held responsible by the council to keep people, the spiking and all of that. And I think it's a little bit unfair, because some of those bartenders are barely 18. And I think it's a lot of responsibility on them. I mean, it's above their pay grade for sure.
Yeah.
So, but most people don't want to involve the police, because then it's a whole other headache.
Yeah.
So, I know at one point Brighton had like city angels or street angels or something, but again, it's asking a lot of people, to. But I think, Brighton, the culture has to change. I mean, the disease is so embedded into the structure of Brighton. They don't even see how many people are suffering. I mean, when we had Arcobaleno, trans women are so bullied and harassed on the streets, and no one believes you when you say this. Say, "Oh, not in Brighton."
Yeah,
in Brighton.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult. I mean, do you have any solutions? Are you looking at solutions, or just bringing awareness to the problem?
Yeah, so it was bringing awareness, and also I'd probably like to speak to, like the gay sort of LGBTQ community, police officers, obviously, so they could obviously tell us, and try and address it and try and sort this situation out, because it is quite a lot of homophobic attacks.
Yeah, I mean, I think your first challenge is getting them to admit that they are.
Well, this is it. Well, talking about that, I did email Sussex Police, and they did get back to me quite a lot of, obviously, of how many people have been attacked. So I was quite shocked how actually they gave me the statistics and figures. I was absolutely gobsmacked.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that was
as well. When I obviously got a homophobic attack in Brighton, I actually called the police, and they were there within seconds. And me and my friend were absolutely shocked how quickly they were there.
Mm.
And then what happened?
And then they just said they'll go and find them. And then I got a letter 2 weeks later saying they've closed the case, which is,
Yeah.
they probably didn't do anything, but yeah.
Yeah.
I also spoke to Daniel that was on Gogglebox. I met up with him a few weeks ago in Brighton, because I did a bit more Googling, and I found out that him and Daniel obviously got homophobic attacks along hosting. And he explained to me how, he feels a bit scared sometimes, and, he's quite wary, sort of. Brighton's changed a lot because he grew up in Brighton as well.
Yeah.
And he was interested, obviously, to come on board as well and share his side of the story.
Yeah.
And do you see, I mean, are you just going to do it as Brighton or Sussex as a whole?
So I just wanted to first start off with Brighton and then sort of venture out to like Kent, because obviously I live near Kent, and there's been a few sort of like gay pubs in Tunbridge Wells down the road that have got they got their window smashed. This gay pub opened, they ended up having to close down. It's sad as well. Another gay bar opened up in Tunbridge Wells in March. That's closed down now because they didn't make any money and no one went there. So yeah, the plan is obviously to do sort of Brighton, Kent, London, because obviously it's London's massive. There'll be absolutely so many people that want to tell their side of the story.
Yeah. Well, if there's anything we can do, and I think that the more people get aware of BOBU, the sticker, because the sticker has a lot of power for people, because suddenly, a lot of people will go, oh, I'm just going to go home and just, feel safe.
Yeah.
And I think, we will be looking for influencers and stuff, to push this. So we could use some help there, maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah. And obviously I know quite a lot of people sort of in the gay scene. My friend, did you see the article that was in the Pink UK? He owns a gay website, so maybe you could try and talk to him. I could get him to obviously come on the documentary to talk about his website, because he's obviously promoted that I'm looking for people for homophobic hate crime in Brighton.
What's the website?
It's called Pink UK.
Okay, yeah, I think that's not the Pink News, right?
No, it's not Pink News. No. I also got Argos, the Brighton Argos, they got in contact with me. They wanted to do a story, obviously, on this, so that would promote it massively. And obviously, I did mention the app with you guys as well. So she wants to talk to me in a few weeks from the 11th.
Nick, did Argos do an article?
On what? On
BOBU.
on the printed one.
Yeah.
So other questions that I had as well was, after obviously could you both tell me sort of your stories about if you could go first, Uche, about how your homophobic attack and how it came about, and how was it?
I have never been physically or verbally attacked. I think what so Nick is my son.
Yeah.
So I think it was, I thought when he would come out, it would be a very different world, very accepting, but it wasn't. And I'll let him say his story. But what I do feel is that there's a lot of what do you call that? It's almost like that micro homophobia, when I'm out with my partner, for example. It's not blatantly in your face, but there's a lot of like bias. You
Yeah,
know?
I've had that before in the past. Yeah, you can tell
Yeah.
there's someone sort of making digs at you, etc.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think that also makes me not feel safe. So this is why, we sort of expanded BOBU to emotional as well, because sometimes you walk into a place and nothing's quite going on, but there's something not right.
yeah, you can tell
And,
vibes.
and you're constantly scanning. And I just feel that people, especially on a night out, you should be relaxed. You should feel safe. You should have fun. But I also know a lot of people who don't go out just because of that. So I think, and that is really heartbreaking for me, that people sit at home, I mean, they're in their 30s and their 20s because they're afraid of what's going to happen. How, and I can't believe, this is allowed to go on, this social isolation, which then affects mental health, which then affects, so it's almost like this vicious cycle. But yes, Nick, you want to...
Well, I mean, I have to say the same. I haven't really fully experienced like being beaten up or anything on the streets or anything like that. But my experiences is that I have seen a lot. I've known a lot of people who have had experiences on the streets who have been hurt. I've known people who've in like the workplace and everything. And I think like safety for me is a very important thing. Like it's our basic need. So if you can't have equality or anything else until your base needs are met. And safety is, I think, a human right that we don't talk about and we don't acknowledge. So that's kind of where I'm coming from this. I mean, as Luciano was saying, the feeling of unsafety when you're walking into spaces, or that questioning of yourself, like, oh, how's this person going to react to me? Have I expressed too much of myself or too little? And it's like you're constantly having those questions in your head. So that emotional safety is really important, part of the physical safety. And I think as a community, we can't really move forward in any other way until we address the physical and emotional safety first.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's obviously still going on a lot.
Yeah.
In Brighton. Has it made you sort of like look different about Brighton and stuff in the past?
Absolutely. I think like I've been in Brighton for about 10 years and I've definitely noticed it's changed a lot. And the stories that I'm hearing from my friends and their own personal experiences, it definitely does have a different vibe. I mean, St. James Street has always been an absolute awful space. But it's just getting worse and worse and worse now. But no one wants to seem to do anything. And there's apparently not much they can do, according to what the councils have said. And the council is a whole different ballgame because they don't like to make decisions because of the hung council, and they don't want to make any big decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said before, about, they don't want to promote that it's a homophobic city because they want to get tourists to come to Gay Pride in August.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't want to make any big changes because, if they lose power or was the wrong mistake, then it impacts them. And I think it's the whole system is ingrained in being corrupted, which I think is a huge thing. And I think like Brighton, I don't know, for me, it's like, this is a bit of a side point. I think Brighton is big enough, and I think that it needs a mayor kind of thing, an actual who can actually just sit there and make decisions independent of the council.
Yeah, like where I live, we have a local mayor. Yeah,
they
don't really do nothing.
But I also think, I mean, sorry, I'm going to say, but Nick got bullied at school. But I think, all this diversity and inclusivity training that we're doing, rubbish, doesn't work. Here we are 20 years later, got new generation of kids also bullying, also attacking. So, so we have, we've got, and I keep trying to push it. I will eventually, is to do inclusivity and diversity through an LGBT lens, right? Rather than from the policies that, because
everything's like, when you start a new job, it's like, oh, we've got to go through all this.
Yes, and it's all about policies. But it's about real world experience, real life experience of somebody who walks into the office, and if you're gay, nobody asks how your weekend was, or they didn't when I was around. you know, but then they're all talking about all pictures. That's the other one, you know, and it's these little things that make someone not feel included.
And I think as well, I still experience quite a lot of homophobia when I go on TikTok lives. I get a sort of, you know, gay boy, or do you see what I mean? Really abusive trolls on Twitter as well when I've done TV shows. And it does really affect the person as well. And it does make me really depressed that I don't want to do many lives anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because
But have you not been told? But it's because this is it's all doom and gloom. It's not that bad. Didn't you get married? Aren't you equal now? Why, you know, maybe it's not about being gay, maybe it's about you. You know, so
yeah, absolutely.
all of those, you know.
Yeah, obviously that's another thing as well. Obviously, because I've never really come out. Obviously I'm half Italian, and in Italy it's sort of a bit, you know. Yeah, my nan, who obviously she passed away, she kept saying, "Oh, when you know, when you're going to get a girlfriend, Luke?" And I'm thinking, "Oh God, here we go." So they were in Italy. They weren't sort of a bit homophobic. Does that make sense? And I still think that sort of when I walk, because they're all like, my sister's got like 5 kids, and do you know what I mean? They're like, "Oh, when are you going to have a
come
kid?"
from Malta, so I
Okay, I love Malta. Yeah,
understand what you're talking about. My mother is 89. She still thinks this is just a phase.
Oh, really? God, yeah. My grandsister, she's 87. When we went out for roast dinner yesterday, she was like, "Oh, you know, when are you going to find someone nice, Luke?" I'm like, "Gran, I'm gay. You've met my boyfriends. They've come on holiday with us."
Yeah, no. So yeah, and yes, Italians, Maltese, Sicilians, yeah. I used to think it was like my mother's generation, but it's not. It just goes from it just keeps like inheritance, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So as well, you must obviously know a lot of people that have obviously had homophobic attack in Brighton. Obviously, if they could come and share their stories, if they're interested. And like I said as well, it would give you guys so much advertisement, promotion for the app to make more people awareness that it's still happening in Brighton. What sort of people that have used the app? What sort of feedback have they said about the
So you've got 2 groups of people. So there's a lot of people who would. So basically, because the way the app is, you can look at places that are already that you can go look for help. Yeah. So it gives you, before you even go out, you can look at, you know, this is why we think it should be global, at least European, if not UK wide and European, because it will tell you what are safe spaces who have been trained. So for some, like of Nick's friends, what have your friends said, Nick, about the app, the negative and the positive?
Yeah, the feedback from the app, Nick.
So the positives were like, it is very useful. It's necessary. It's useful. It's good to know. They kind of felt that it's definitely needed, because sometimes, you know, there's a lot of spaces that they go into that they just don't feel comfortable. Negatives was kind of the utility of the app. So like, it really depends on the demographics. So example, like gay males, cisgender gay males tend to not think the app is important for them. They think it's a great idea, but they're like, a lot of times it's like, well, I'm not really afraid of anything, and all of that. So it tends to be kind of, at the moment, the utility of the app is more targeted towards like non-binary and trans people tend to use it a bit more than cisgendered people.
What's the sort of statistics of how many people use it? Because obviously, do you get statistics of how many people have, you know, been homophobic attacked? Because that's really interesting as well. See how many people that are using the app as well.
So our numbers aren't massively huge at the moment, because we're still trying to get out there and get people downloading it. So the statistics we do have, they're very hard to read. Like, they don't make it easy, but we are it has been growing. So like, basically people can just review how they felt safe in a venue. So it's more, at the moment, we haven't had about people being homophobically attacked, but about how safe they felt in venues. So people have been reviewing spaces.
That's really interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Because at the end of the day, we don't have the resources to be a third party independent that thing where you reporter. third
Yeah,
party.
absolutely. Yeah, cool.
So maybe that's something in the future for the app to be able to do, would be to have a kind of a third party reporting feature. But at the moment, it hasn't been that. So unsure if the app has been helpful for people who have been attacked in that sense, or if it was just that they've been able to go to venues who have been safe. So we've had a few people who have used it from London, looking at spaces before they've come down to Brighton. To look at spaces, but we haven't had any feedback on, oh well, yes, I was being followed or on the streets, which is a good thing. But also we don't know, because we haven't had the resources to do a big push to get people downloading.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have to pay Brighton Hove Council to put stickers up and stuff? Obviously, permission.
No.
That's good.
Because we go through the private, so it goes through private property, so it's nothing to do with the council at all.
That's good.
Yeah.
And how have the sort of people that you've got on the app already sort of like supportive? Would they say, oh, my friend down the road or whatever, they would like to join the scheme? Is it really easy to join, etc.?
Yeah. So we've been trying to make it as easy as possible, kind of using mostly recommendations, since we're a small team, trying to make sure that we're working with people who really get the value behind the app. We're trying to make it because we don't want, obviously everywhere is a safe space, but we want to have that little bit of exclusivity so that we can work on making sure that the places that are on the app will provide that little bit extra, not just saying that they're a safe space and you come in and then all of a sudden they don't know what the hell's going on because their manager signed up, but they didn't relay all the information. So we got to really make sure that we're working with spaces with people who really get behind that it is necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's like you said before. Yeah, it's good to raise awareness, etc., and promote the app as well. When you did the article sort of for the media and stuff, did you sort of get a lot of people sort of download the app? Did you get more people know about it? Yeah, was it a massive media push, etc.?
Yes, it was the BBC one. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people really liked the message and the authenticity.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's such a good thing. I'm like fascinated that you came across it, and developed it.
Yeah.
So that was it really. That was sort of just sharing your side of the story and just to make people aware about the app.
Okay.
And they're not alone if they get attacked or anything in Brighton.
So if you go on the BOBU Instagram, I don't know if you've been there. Nick's done quite a few videos interviewing people.
Yes, I was about to come on to that. Yeah, you just reminded me about that. It's good that you reminded. Yeah, I like that you've gone out and interview people and say, do you feel safe, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's what my next step is to go out and interview people in the community and see what they say.
Yeah.
That's my next step.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, let us know what you need from us, and then
absolutely, yeah, and obviously, promoting your app, getting it out there more, sort of, to the wider community, not just Brighton, because obviously I live in East Sussex and I didn't even know about it. To Kent, because obviously my friends that go from Kent or West Sussex, etc.
Yeah, I mean we are in London.
Yeah, I did see that you've pushed
and
out
Kendal, and Kendal is a test site, so Kendal's quite small.
Where is that?
I didn't know where it was either. It's up. No, it's in the.
Is it near Scotland or Carlisle?
No, not that far up. It's in not the Downs. What is it called?
It's Lake District.
Lake District.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
And this is this small town, so I think most of the venues are on there.
Yeah. So
they did it as a city rather than as a town rather than individual. But yes, so I think if you need anything else from us, we're here. So
great, thank you. Yeah, that's really good, because I think as well, since my friend put that advert out on his Pink UK, I think a lot of people are actually sort of scared and afraid to speak out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sort of interviewed and it could obviously bring back motions, and that's
exactly
what I've noticed. I think a lot of people are scared. When I've obviously spoke to people sort of in clubs and bars and stuff, and I generally think they are, scared.
Yeah.
For their well-being and safety.
Okay. Look, now then we'll wait to hear back from you then.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much for your time, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.